Anacortes Public Library's Together We Discover series would like to invite you on an outdoor adventure into the Cascade Mountains, where we're going to go rockhounding for these. So before you go on your crystal digging adventure, you're going to need a few pieces of gear to make your experience a little more comfortable. For starters, good pair of hiking boots. For digging around in the dirt, you're going to want a trowel. Anything from the garden supply center at your local hardware store works just fine. Pair of gloves to keep your hands protected. Eye protection to keep your eyes protected. Sunscreen to keep your skin protected. Some of those days out there get pretty sunny. There's a lot of bugs out in the deep woods, so be sure to bring a nice heavy-duty bug spray with you. Stay hydrated. Bring some water. Bring lots of water. A little bit of covering for your head, because digging around in the dirt, you'll be surprised how much dirt will get in your hair. Collection bags for all the crystals you find. And of course, for everything, you're going to need something to carry it all with. So bring a bag, something sturdy, something that can take a little rough handling. And on the extra side here, we have a few things to show you. Just things we'd only recommend for you to bring. It'll make your experience much more pleasant. Knee pads. You will be on hands and knees digging around in the dirt, and these will save you a lot of pain later on. Root clippers. Take care of those stubborn roots you're going to encounter digging around under some trees. Headlamps. Highly recommended. Those holes get pretty dark and shadowy. Makes it much easier to see those crystals. Bring extra batteries too. A little miniature crowbar, pry bar, rock hammer, and another kind of crowbar, pry bar. Finally, we have a foam pad, and laying these down serves the same purpose as your knee pads. Makes your experience a lot more comfortable sitting for hours and hours digging around in the muck. So there you go. It's bright and early, and we are headed out to the Cascade Mountains to do some crystal digging. We'll see you up on the mountain.
The area we will be digging in is part of the Snoqualmie Batholith, a large formation of volcanic rock that formed 22 to 28 million years ago. Quartz crystal points formed in pockets as the rock cooled, and the batholith was pushed upwards by tectonic activity. Landslides and erosion have broken quartz points loose from their pockets, and these points can be easily found by digging, if you know where to look.
Darn! There be crystals in them hills! Treasure to be found!
Our dig site is located in the Mount Baker Snoqualmie National Forest and open to the public. The roads out to the site include logging roads which are not always strictly maintained, so use caution when driving. The hike from parking to the site is approximately 1.1 miles at a small, modest incline. The site is on a hill, and the higher you climb, the better luck you will have finding an undisturbed digging spot.
Aside from quartz crystal up on this mountain, there's also a number of other cool geological features, like the sheer granite wall. Unfortunately, there's a lot of folks that come up and decide to graffiti some of these rocks, so try not to do that, but I'm sure we're all pulling for you, T&D.
So, this is where the trail up the hill starts. The nice thing about this location is there's kind of crystals everywhere, so it's a family-friendly place to bring your kids if they want to stay down here and dig. But the better crystals are found up there, closer to the source of the crystals. So, if you can hike up, the higher you go, the better luck you'll have digging. So here we go, we're going to hike up the hill.
So as you're going up the hill, you'll just find a lot of crystals kind of sitting on the dirt. People call dump dirt. They've dug it out already and they've just discarded the ones they don't want. You can find plenty of cool crystals that way, but a lot of the crystals people are looking for, you'll notice, are in these holes under these old tree stumps. And some of these holes can go pretty far back as the crystals have been caught up in the roots. But honestly, I don't go in the holes like this. And I don't recommend you go in either unless you're very experienced or have good safety gear. And even then, it can be pretty dangerous. The deeper you dig a hole, the more likely it is for that hole to collapse. And there are really big rocks, as you can see, all around. And those are just lodged up under those tree roots. And even in smaller holes I've dug, I've had rocks come down on me. So be real safe. There isn't a crystal out there that's worth your life or the life of your kids or a dog or you've brought up with you. So just be real careful. Star of the show. Doesn't get any better than this. You'll find little fragments of crystal all over down here. On a sunny day, the whole ground will be glittering as you come on up. But it's a pretty easy and safe way, especially for kiddos, to find crystals just on the way up the hillside, laying on the ground. We've already gathered a little handful. They're kind of dirty. They haven't been washed off yet, but it's that easy to find quartz up here in little quartz clusters just kicking around. We're going to go up a little higher.
While digging, look for orange-red colored soil, which is a good indicator that crystals are nearby.
So here's another good example of how just quartz-rich this whole region is up in the Cascades. This is just either a washout, but I think it's more likely a bunch of people's dump dirt. But just walking up, you can see big chunks of crystal sticking out of the ground. It's hard to make out, but that's kind of a cool one. These probably were a bunch of points at one point before getting kind of broken apart. But just looking around the dirt here, you can probably pretty quickly find something interesting to take home. I bet they're just all over the place.
Okay, so we've made it to the top of the hill, and it looks pretty steep from this angle, but if you're having a hard time climbing up, just think of all the really cool crystals you are going to find at the top. We found a nice sized hole to dig in that's not too deep or too rocky. It has lots of crystals around, so that's a good sign, and we're going to start digging.
So there's lots of techniques you can use to do this. It's all digging in the end, but generally what I do is my handy dandy rock hammer, get in under these roots here. We're not too deep, a little deeper than I like, but not too bad. And just kind of gently chunk away at the dirt. You'll find there's plenty of rocks in here to pull down. Be careful of those. And once you've got a fair amount of dirt coming down, any of this can have crystals in it. There's a big rock right here, and I'm keeping a close eye on him. And I'll just bring all this dirt down to my feet. And once I've got a fair amount collected, we'll just start gently sifting through it and see what we can find. Kind of looking for the telltale sparkle of a flat, shiny surface. And that is not one. From there on, it's kind of just wash, rinse, repeat until you get that eureka moment. If you come home looking like this, dirty, your knees are sore, your arm is sore from digging, you fed a chipmunk along the way, you got to see an amazing view and spend some time outdoors, then you did something right.
Okay, so when you get home, you'll take your crystals and you'll pour them into some clean, warm water. Let them soak a bit, maybe overnight.
Okay, so we've let these crystals sit overnight in some water and we've rinsed them off a couple times. Be careful not to rinse them off in your sink. because a lot of dirt's going to come off of these guys, and that dirt will settle in your pipes, and then you'll end up making a very expensive call to your plumber. So try to rinse them off outside best you can. Do that a few times until the water's kind of clear like this, and then you can start cleaning these guys. So we recommend using just standard toothbrushes you can get at a drugstore or grocery store. And we have some dentistry picks here if you really want to get into it that help get the dirt out of those little nooks and crannies. So let's take a look and see what we got. These bigger ones here are good candidates for getting in there with a toothbrush or something. Go ahead and give them a little scrub. Oh, there's some dirt that came off. And you can kind of swish them a little bit. See, it's already cleaning up pretty well. But for those really hard to reach spots, you can grab one of your little dentistry hooks here and just kind of get into those little crannies. As you can see, this dirt's pretty impacted into these crystals. They've been in that dirt for a very long time, so sometimes you gotta get in there and work it out. But eventually, you'll get some pretty cool little pieces there. Some of this dark stuff isn't even dirt, it's just mineral deposits on there, so don't pick too hard at things. The actual dirt should come off pretty easily, but that's pretty cool. With a little TLC, that'll shine up right nice. We even got some other cool stuff in here, like pyrite cubes that we found along the way. It's really heavy. There you have it. Hopefully, with a little luck, at the end of the day, you'll come back with a few treasures. Now, they don't look like much now. They're a little rusty colored, a little dirty. But with a little TLC and a little patience and some tools of the trade, you can get them cleaned up quite nicely. We recommend just any soap and warm water and a toothbrush from your local pharmacy. Also, these dentistry picks come in pretty handy when you're trying to dig dirt out of the nooks and crannies. After a while, you'll get a pretty nice selection of crystals. And with a little more cleaning and a little more patience, you'll come up with some favorites. You might even get really lucky and find a few amethysts, or even perhaps a cube of pyrite. You never know what kind of minerals you'll dig up in the Cascades. But be careful, rockhounding can be pretty addictive. And if you don't control yourself, you're gonna end up filling your house with boxes and boxes and boxes of rocks. And if crystals aren't your jam when you're rockhounding, there's a lot more cool stuff to be found in the Cascade Mountains in our very own backyards, such as these fossils we brought back from the Chuckanut fossil bed, just 17 miles or so east of Bellingham. So we have things like this alder leaf fossil dating somewhere between 50 and 60 million years old.
For more information or for more ideas on trips you can take to find your own fossils and crystals here in Washington, I recommend Roadside Geology of Washington and Gem Trails of Washington, both of which can be found at the Anacortes Public Library.
Thank you for coming with us on this outdoor adventure. From everybody at Anacortes Public Library, we love you, we miss you, and we hope to see you real soon.